There are seasons when limitation becomes the quiet shape of your days. Not the dramatic kind that comes from crisis or loss, but the subtle kind. The kind that shows up in your energy, your routines and your capacity, and your emotional bandwidth. You find yourself doing less, moving slower, needing more rest, choosing simplicity over complexity. And part of you wonders if something is slipping away. This kind of limitation can feel unsettling, especially for people who've lived full, active, and expansive lives. You know what it feels like to carry momentum. You know what it feels like to have options. And you know what it feels like to move freely through the world. So when life becomes smaller, even gently, it can feel like a quiet grief, a soft ache beneath the surface. But here's the truth many people will never say out loud. Quiet limitation is often where the deepest transformation begins. Not in the wide open seasons, but in the narrow ones, the ones where life becomes small enough for you to finally hear yourself again. And early spring understands this perfectly. Before anything blooms, there's a long stretch of stillness. A period where nothing looks different on the surface, but everything is changing underneath. Roots strengthen, cells reorganize, and energy gathers. Growth becomes intentional. Nature transforms quietly before it transforms visibly, and humans are no different. So if you're living inside a season of limitation, here's what might be happening within you. Not as a setback, but as a form of quiet evolution. First, your inner world is reorganizing. Limitation forces clarity. It strips away the noise. It reveals what matters and what doesn't. You begin to see your life with sharper honesty, not because you're trying harder, but because there's less distraction. And when life narrows, your attention deepens. You start noticing the truths you used to rush past. Second, your values are becoming more defined. When life is wide, it's easy to say yes to everything. When life narrows, you begin to choose with intention. You notice what nourishes you. You notice what drains you. You notice what aligns with who you're becoming. And now limitation becomes a filter, one that reveals your true priorities without forcing anything. And third, your identity is shifting, quietly and slowly and without fanfare. Because seasons of limitation often precede seasons of renewal, because they create the internal space needed for identity to evolve. You're not losing yourself, you're shredding the parts that no longer fit. You're releasing old expectations. You're making room for a version of yourself that's more honest, more grounded, and more aligned with the life you're actually living. Fourth and last, your nervous system is recalibrating, because limitation often shows up when your system needs rest, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of wisdom. Your body knows when it's time to slow down, and your mind knows when it's time to simplify. Your emotions, too, know when they need gentler rhythms. This recalibration is not regression, it's repair. This works because transformation rarely begins in expansion. It begins in stillness, in quiet, in the small contained spaces where your inner world has room to breathe. And limitation isn't the end of growth, it's the environment where growth becomes possible. So if you're in a season of limitation, trust the quiet work happening beneath the surface. You're not stuck, you're not shrinking, and you are being reshaped gently, intentionally, and in ways that will become clear when life widens again. Now you take care. Stay connected.